Good morning. Welcome to the Clean Coast, Texas Lunch and Learn event. We're very excited for today's presentation, and I sure appreciate you all joining us. My name is Christina Lopez, and I'm at the Meadow Center for Water and the Environment, and I'm going to get this event started. So first, I'll go over some house rules, and then I'll get to the agenda, and we'll go over some introductions before we hear from our featured speaker. So first, please remain on mute. This will help us ensure that we have great sound quality for our speaker. When it comes to the video, you can have it on or off, it's whatever you prefer, but please note that this meeting is being recorded and it will be posted for later viewing. We will be having a Q&A session after the presentation, and we will be using the chat function for questions, comments, and thoughts, as well as introductions. So to break the ice this morning, if you wouldn't mind trying out that chat function, please let us know your name, your affiliation, and maybe what your favorite activity to do is at the Texas beaches that you visit and enjoy. All right. Also joining me at the Meadow Center for Water and the Environment is Sarah Wingfield. Sarah is our tech assistant and has really helped us promote and produce this event. So thank you very much to Sarah. If you have any technical issues or questions, feel free to send Sarah a direct chat, or you can chat me directly as well. So we're very excited to hear today from Lucy Flores. She is going to be talking about enhancing coastal water quality, a journey with Texas Beach Watch. As I mentioned previously, we will have plenty of time for questions and answers at the end. You can put your questions or comments or general thoughts in the chat at any time, and then we will address those at the end of the presentation. All right, now I would like to introduce Jason Pinchback from the Texas General Land Office. Jason?
Thank you, Christina. Good morning, and welcome to another installment of the Texas General Land Office Clean Coast Texas Lunch and Learn series, where we connect with coastal water resources and learn about ways to understand and enhance the management of stormwater runoff. My name is Jason Pinchback, the Water Resources Manager at the Texas General Land Office, working under the leadership of Commissioner Don Buckingham. This event is sponsored by the Texas Coastal Management Program, and it's intended to be an easy-to-access forum, removing impediments associated with attending long conferences or meetings, where we invite subject matter experts to unpack their initiatives into bite-sized morsels, to share ideas that might be useful for neighboring coastal communities on how to improve their local water quality, habitat, and related resources that help to support water-based ecotourism. Future Lunch and Learn events coming up, including next month on May 16th, 11 a.m., with a look into economics and water quality by PhD candidate Virgie Greb. We have a secret surprise Lunch and Learn in July yet to be announced. Then in August, we explore insights into which species are driving bacteria loading with Dr. Terry Gentry from Texas A&M College Station. Clean Coast Texas is here to serve communities by providing local governments, decision makers, and the public with information, resources, and tools to better manage stormwater quality and associated runoff. The tools and guidance provided through Clean Coast Texas can help coastal communities implement measures to reduce the impact of land use change on coastal waters and to protect natural resources that support a thriving Gulf Coast economy. Some examples from our menu of services include community planning and ordinance development, water quality analysis and green infrastructure workshops, as well as planning workshops, grant development, project management, stormwater retrofits, and green infrastructure demonstration projects, and other water quality management measures, including public engagement materials customized for a specific community. To assist GLO with this initiative, and knowing that this type of challenge takes a well-seasoned and knowledgeable group of practitioners, GLO formed a collaborative with Meadow Center for Water and the Environment at Texas State University, Texas Community Watershed Partners at AgriLife Extension Service, and Texas Sea Grant at Texas A&M. I would like to thank Sarah Wingfield and Christina Lopez at Meadows Center for Water and the Environment for co-hosting and providing technical support for today's event. Today's featured presentation is provided by Miss Lucy Flores. She holds a bachelor's degree in art with a minor in mathematics and forensic science and a master's degree in public affairs from the LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas. She serves as the team lead on the Water Resources Program with Coastal Protection of the Texas General Land Office and plays a vital role in managing the Texas Beach Watch program. She also serves as project manager with the Texas Coastal Ocean Observation Network, a network which provides critical data on ocean conditions, tides, and environmental changes along the Texas coast. Her work directly impacts the well-being of coastal communities in Texas and contributes to the sustainable use of the state's natural resources. I've personally worked closely with Lucy for the last 8 years and have the deepest respect for her and her work ethic and abilities to get things done. So let's buckle up, put on your thinking caps, and get ready to learn. Without any further ado, let's welcome Miss Lucy Flores.
Now, when you can see my screen. Thanks, Jason, for that great introduction. I'm ecstatic to be here to talk about all things Beach Watch. If you know anything about me, you know that I love talking about Beach Watch. And most people that I meet every day who ask me what I do usually only know about Beach Watch because of headlines like this. This infographic that you see made its rounds a few years ago, and the headlines that you see on the screen now make the rounds not only during spring break, but every beach season. Last year we had, I want to say we set the record for the number of page views and visits to our website. So on the right of my screen, you can see the last 3 years, specific to the month of July, but I want you guys to pay attention to July 12th. In 2021, we had a little over 2,000 visits to our website. In 22, that increased to a little over 4,000. But last year, the page views that we had, the visits to our website, were over 15,000 visitors. Why did this happen? Because of headlines like this, specifically one headline, one story that made its way onto NPR. And when NPR aired that, it really brought a lot of attention to the Texas Beach Watch program. So that's the silver lining. The silver lining is more people get to learn about Beach Watch. And then I end up in programs like this where I get to talk about it and continue educating the public. So I'm going to start with a little history on what is the Texas Beach Watch. So the Texas Beach Watch program is a water quality monitoring program that's designed to protect the health of the public at Texas recreational beaches. But the way it started is that back in 2000, Congress passed an amendment to the Water Act, and it's called the Beaches Environmental Assessment and Coastal Health Act of 2000. We call it the Beach Act. And what that did was it required EPA to come up with uniform criteria for monitoring and for notifying the public on contact recreation on coastal waters. So in 2001, at the time, Governor Perry reached out to the GLO, and Governor Perry designated the Texas General Land Office as the lead agency to implement the provisions of the Beach Act. Now, this happened because going back to, I want to say maybe the mid-90s, we already had a very slimmed down version of what we know as Beach Watch today. Through the Coastal Management Program, we were actually collecting water samples at sites along the coast. And the Beach Act allowed us to expand on that program. So what do we test for? Why do we test? Excuse me. So the reason we test is because according to EPA standards, even when bacteria levels are low, when they are low, 36 out of 1,000 swimmers may still contract an illness. Symptoms can range from a fever to stomach cramps, what we consider a stomach bug or flu, diarrhea, chills. And we want to minimize the exposure to illness whenever everybody goes out to recreate in the water. And I think a lot of people don't really think about the fact that if they swim in water with high bacteria levels, they can get sick. And the way that they get sick is like a stomach bug, or it just doesn't show up. And a lot of people will usually chalk it up to food poisoning. And usually a good indicator is if only the people that were touching the water are the ones that got sick, odds are it's not going to be food poisoning. So what do we test for? We test for the Enterococcus bacteria. This bacteria is a good indicator for the presence of disease-causing pathogens in saline waters. I like to say that this specific bacteria is like an umbrella. If the Enterococcus bacteria is in the water and it's high, odds are there's a lot of other bacteria and pathogens in the water as well. The one thing Texas Beach Watch does not test for is Vibrio. Over the summer, we get a lot of calls, and we do not test for that because that is also always in the water. So what does monitoring look like at the GLO for the Beach Watch program? So every year, there are 42 scheduled sampling events. During peak season, which is the month of March through September, we are collecting samples every single week. And during what we call the off season, so the rest of the year, we collect every other week. We do collect water samples at 172 locations amongst 61 recreational beaches along the coast. This is all the way down from Boca Chica, all the way up to Sea Rim State Park, and everything that we can get to in between. You can see a map there. Now, when bacteria levels exceed EPA standards, the GLO does issue an advisory warning the public not to swim in the affected areas. So if an advisory is issued, how do we notify the public? You can see the map there on the screen. That is texasbeachwatch.com. One of the ways we notify the public is we update this map when results come in within 15 minutes of the results being entered into our database. We are updating every 15 minutes this map. We also notify the public by Beach Watch signs. This is what a closed Beach Watch sign looks like, and this is what an open Beach Watch sign looks like. We do have our messaging in English and Spanish, and you usually find them along beach access points. And in some counties, you can find them along every single beach site location that we collect water samples at, specifically Galveston along the seawall. You tend to see these signs facing the beach and facing the seawall where people are walking. Oops. The other way we notify the public is through our email notification system. If you do visit texasbeachwatch.com, you can sign up to receive our emails where we notify you of the water quality, whether it's good or bad. You're going to get those results. Like I said, during peak season, you are going to get those results weekly, and you get to select the beaches you want. So you will not receive the results for every single site or beach that we do monitor at. And I believe you can get to that page. They're going to put the link in the chat if you want to sign up for these notifications if you don't already receive them. Now, we had all this data. When Jason and I took over, we had years and years of data, and we were like, what do we do with it? And in 2020, we reached out to Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, Dr. Turner, Jeffrey Turner. We reached out to him and we asked if they wanted to partner up with us to do a data analysis on 10 years worth of data and to help us figure out what the story that the data was telling, all this historical data. And there was a graduate student, Dr. Powers, who worked on this as well. And they're also going to drop a link in the chat if you want to actually read the publication that came out of this project that we did with them. But the main conclusion was that increasing bacteria levels over time correlated with population growth. And on this slide, you kind of get an idea of how much the bacteria advisories were increasing over time. Now, this program collects about 7,000 samples a year. And that's quite a bit of samples. And between 2011 and 2019, you can see quite a dramatic jump on there. And so now that we have this information, we were like, okay, so where is all this bacteria coming from? And the bacteria comes from everywhere, pretty much. It's important to note that bacteria is not always bad. It does play a vital role in our coastal ecosystems. It contributes to the natural process and biodiversity, but some bacteria is harmful. And that's why I touched on what are some of the illnesses that can happen when you recreate in high bacteria levels. But as this slide shows, the bacteria levels could be from rainfall, it could be from livestock, people, humans, dogs, gulls, untreated sewer, untreated wastewater. It could be we haven't kept up with septic systems that may be leaking. There's just all different sources that the bacteria can come from. And so as you can see, Texas Beach Watch is not just a water sample collection analysis type program. We also look at our data, we ask questions about our data, and now I get to talk about some of the other things that we do with Texas Beach Watch. So some of the Texas Beach Watch initiatives that we have going on here at the GLO is we're interested in source tracking. And we're currently working with Texas A&M University AgriLife Research Extension, Tarleton State University, to look at historical data and source tracking. We're also working with Texas A&M University Corpus Christi Hart Research Institute to re-rank Texas beaches. And same at HRI, we're also working on a predictive model. So source tracking, we were interested in finding out, we know that there's bacteria in the water, but what is that source? Is it human? Is it dog? Is it gull? And so we had a project going with A&M AgriLife Research Extension, where not only did they analyze the historical data statistically, but they also did qPCR study of that. And this was what we were looking for. And this, I just want to say, this is all preliminary. Once we completed this project, we had a lot of questions. So I'm just going to go through some of these preliminary results that we received. You know, human was detected. Oh, before I forget, this study was in Galveston Island only. Sampling was conducted from March 2022 through May 2023, and they had 114 samples that were high during that time period. Now, those samples were later analyzed through qPCR, and here's just a brief summary of Galveston Island and where some of the human markers, dog markers, and gull markers were found. A breakdown, again, keep in mind, preliminary, is there was some human, some dog, and a lot of gull. But it didn't stop there. We also decided to go further and do DNA-based microbial source tracking. So they did do DNA sequencing, because although qPCR could identify canine, we couldn't identify what species that was. And the DNA-based microbial source tracking did not see human as the primary fecal source. In Galveston Island, coyote was seen in higher concentrations than dog. And that may be because of the endangered animal that's there, coyote that's there. And so as you can see, preliminary, but we're starting to have lots of questions. the more we see this. And before you guys blame the goals, because the goals did show up here, if you look at that teal looking color, we need more information. We received this data and we had lots of questions, and we're going back to the drawing board. To be honest, we need to maybe change our approach. We need to continue to meet with the experts and go back to the drawing board, reassess our procedures, and do a bigger site-specific type study. And we're doing that. We also did that in Brazoria Matagorda. Unfortunately, I don't have slides to share with you over those. But again, we're receiving preliminary results that are along the same lines. We're seeing gull, we're seeing canine, very little human. Now, part of this project also included statistical analysis of the historical data through Dr. Bonatti. Now, he was the last Lunch and Learn presenter. They analyzed the Galveston historical data at 57 sites from 2009 to 2022, and 11% of those samples were what we consider high, which means that over 10% of the time, they were over the EPA standard of 104. 69% of those samples were medium, and 11% were high. Now, what this did for us is it identified a site on the seawall that was high. If you can see in the upper right corner of this infographic, there's a lot of yellow for medium and there's a couple high spots. I don't know if you can see that it says 37. That came to our attention. And as we looked further, we decided to do some more investigating. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize that Texas Beach Watch does. We want to improve water quality. That's the ultimate goal. It's not only about informing the public. So we decided to go out, we decided to do our own investigation, and this is what we found at that site. There was water. There was water coming out of the seawall. It was eroding onto the beach. We could see rocks, we could see some kind of pipe system. And we started collecting samples there. When we collected samples there, the water that was coming out of the wall was testing high for the enterobacteria. So at this point, this is where Jason and all his Clean Coast Texas experience comes in. He reaches out to the city to see if they could shed some light for us about this pipe system. And you can see on here, you can see the location. It's adjacent to the 4700 Seawall Boulevard. That's around the Academy area. In red, you can see the stormwater conveyance. You can see seawall outlets, possible dry manholes, stormwater outfalls. And Jason worked with the city, and he also worked with the Galveston County Health District. And he went down there and did his own investigation of the site. And the city, and I cannot thank the city of Galveston enough, the city was really open about what we had to say with our data and what we had to say with the photographic evidence that we had. And they came up with a plan. And they sent down a robot down their stormwater drains. They did dye tracing on the businesses from the street behind the stormwater conveyance that you see on screen. The next slide shows the city collecting water samples out of some of these locations. You can see our field tech there collecting water sample along the wall. And this is a perfect example about on how Texas Beach Watch can collaborate with a city to help do some investigation and pinpoint some areas of concern as we try to improve water quality along the coast. Now, I don't have a final conclusion for you. This investigation is still ongoing. The GLO is still working with the city. But again, this is a perfect example of when you have a city that's willing to work with a state agency to improve water quality. I cannot thank them enough for this. Now I'm going to move on to another initiative that we have, which is the AI-enabled Enterococcus predictor. We call it the e-predictor. And the e-predictor came about because we wanted to see if there was a way that we could predict bacteria levels on the coast. And we are working with Philemon out at HRI. And this project started with just 15 sites. We gave him all the historical data, and then he created and ran so many models to try to weed out what was not working and what was working using the basic parameters of bacteria data, and then changing up what the formulation was for the rest of the formula for the predictor. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Again, this is draft version only. What we found was that the same model sometimes was not working during different times of the year. So as you can see here in November, you can see the model in the fuchsia line. The actual results are in green, and it's following it. It's following the line. It looks like a pretty good predictor. And then you see July, and it's all over the place. The same thing for April and August. The same model with different sites. We found that it works on some sites and it doesn't work on others. And this is not because it's in different counties. We can see here that it worked in Galveston and Brazoria, the GALBRA, but then it didn't work in Brazoria 10, and it didn't work in Nueces. Then we also saw that the same site in different models did not have the same results. So this has been a learning experience. What does this look like for the future? We have expanded the number of sites that we're running these models at. We've reduced the number of models. So if they started with, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, but it could have been about 28 models. I think we are down to less than 10. I do know they are updating parameters. So sometimes you can have our big bacteria and salinity, or bacteria and rainfall, bacteria and water temperature and salinity. So they are running those types of models. So we're really excited to be on the forefront of this. The Beach Act does state that one of the ways we can notify the public is through predictive modeling. So we're excited to finally be doing some of that work and see what it leads to. What do we plan to do with these results? It depends. It could help inform us as to how we sample in the future, or it could help inform the public. We don't know. It's all going to depend on the percent of accuracy of these models. And then that leads me to our partnership with Texas A&M University Corpus Christi's Heart Research Institute Community Resilience Program. This partnership came about because over the last few years, we have seen an increase in calls from the public, local governments, requesting sites in their counties or in their municipalities. And so we had been keeping track of that, but we really saw an increase. So we decided we had also not taken a good look at the ranking of our Texas beaches. Currently, Texas Beach Watch monitors at Tier 1 beaches. Tier 1 is established by EPA. But since the last time the GLO ranked these beaches, there's a lot of new beaches that have come about. Some of these beaches, due to the GLO's Kepler program that's nourished beaches, created new beaches like Babes Beach in Galveston. That wasn't there when they had originally ranked these beaches. So with the EPA guidance, we shared with the Community Resilience Project team about what we were looking for. We wanted to be better informed as we make decisions on how to expand this program. And they did this using various methods. They have an institutional review board, and then they collected a lot of data. And they did this by conducting expert interviews with folks on the ground who make decisions, who are aware of beach usage. Then we had sandals on the beach, what I like to call chanclas on the beach. And these were surveys that occurred on the ground and a public online survey as well. And we use cell phone data to inform. So to go into a little bit about the chanclas on the beach project, this project happened July through August. And it happened in the upper, mid, and lower coasts. They had 161 viable surveys, and these surveys were conducted in person, and they were conducted in English and Spanish. That was something that's very, very important to the Texas Beach Watch program, which is reaching out to the Spanish-speaking visitors to the beach. And on screen, you can see some of the questions that were asked. Then we had a public online survey. It was very similar to the questions that were asked for the chanclas on the beach survey. This survey ran from October 2023 through February 2024. We did Facebook ad targeting, the GLO social media, put out this survey as well. We reached out to project partners on the coast, asking them to post it on their social media. And we ended up having a little bit over 1,100 responses. But there were some bots, and after the bots survey responses were taken out, we ended up with 833 surveys. So still, that's not too bad. That's really great. I was excited about that. I did just talk about cell phone data, and I wanted to go into that a little bit more. For the cell phone data, we did use the service that was providing this, and I'm going to show you here in a little bit the March through August snapshot. But we did have a buffer. I want you guys to be aware that we didn't just take all the cell phone data in a coastal county. That buffer was 250 feet from the shoreline, and you could see that in the dotted green lines, what that buffer included and the dots that are on there. Now, this cell phone data was also significantly pared down. We wanted to make sure that we were only counting one device on the grid for that day instead of every single time it pinged. So I'm excited that the team over there did the hard work of paring all this information down. It's so much data. I worked with our GIS team here to look through these octagons, and it was just so much data. So shout out to them for doing the work to do that. And here's some of the results. So 2022 monthly sum of daily use density of, this is from that cell phone data. We have Harris, Galveston, Aransas, Nueces, and Cameron. And you can see on there the amount of usage is quite significant between Galveston and Cameron County. So those are our high use counties. Then we had our medium to low use counties. And as you get into this, we did account for Orange, Matagorda, Clayburgh, Kennedy, Chambers, Calhoun. They're all here. They're all represented here. And we could see when peak usage was for these beaches. And what is the future of this program? So right now we're waiting on a draft of the final report with their recommendations. So far, based on the drafts that we've seen, this has been very successful. Once we receive their recommendations based on the work that they did, then the GLO will look at that to help make an informed decision of how we will expand the Texas Beach Watch site locations in the future for water collection. So I hope up until now, you guys have seen what Beach Watch does. We have goals. Our goals are not only to collect water quality information at the recreational beaches and notify the public, but we also want to reduce the beach advisories and the bacteria loading. And we do that not only through our program, but also through partnerships. We cannot do this without the community. We cannot do this with the partnerships that we have with local governments and with the universities along the coast and A&M, I will say A&M. So what does the future look for Texas Beach Watch? What does that look like? We want to expand that qPCR/statistical outlook study. We want to expand it to different counties. We not only want to regroup about the process, but we want more information, and we want to work with more counties to improve water quality. We also want to expand the Texas Beach Watch network. So like I just mentioned, with the re-ranking of the Texas Beach project, we'll be better informed, and we'll be adding more sites along the coast. And we're also going to update the Texas Beach Watch website. This year, you'll be able to see a minor change to the way the website works. And we are going to include a summary for AY23 on our bacteria results for each site and then for beaches. That will be on there. We'll have a media corner on there. So if you get media inquiries, you can direct the media there. We are increasing the presence of Beach Watch by public awareness and education outreach. This slide here shows all the things that we have been doing over the last year to improve the awareness. That's something that we hear a lot. We hear that the public doesn't know about our program when we talk to people on the ground. We hear that not only does the public not know enough about the program, but the people at the local level don't have enough resources to share. The way we're doing this is we redesigned our logo. We put QR codes on all the Beach Watch signs up and down the coast. We're doing outreach. Not only am I going out there and participating in statewide events, this is World Oceans Day here, but other people at the GLO are also talking about Beach Watch when they do their outreach. You can see here a classroom with kids holding Adopt a Beach bandanas as the Beach Watch sunglasses. I also make myself available when universities request for me to do a workshop with their students. You can see Texas A&M University had a program in the summer where they had students from all over the country, and they got to spend some time with me and one of my field techs in Galveston, learning about all things Beach Watch, collecting their own samples, analyzing their own samples. And the Texas GLO communications team is working with us to have a press release this season. As you can see up here, there's a photo of the commissioner and I. She was very gracious to record a bit for Texas Beach Watch that we hope to put out on our socials. Her and I also had some dialogue going back and forth, and hopefully you'll see that soon. And then I want to acknowledge the Texas Beach Watch team. So my manager, who you just saw a little while ago, is Jason Pinchback. He's the water resource manager. He is the all-knower of water. He is my go-to when I cannot answer questions. He is my go-to when I cannot solve problems. Jason, I want to thank you for all the things and all your support for Texas Beach Watch. You have me. I'm Lucy Flores, and I get to manage this awesome program. And then we have the field techs. We have a lot of field techs and lab techs, depending on the location in the county. And here's a snapshot of some of them. And I want to thank my project partners as well. So these are some of the project partners that we have for Texas Beach Watch, from UTRGV, EPA, obviously, the Coastal Management Program here at the GLO, who has been very supportive of the Texas Beach Watch program, the Hart Research Institute for Gulf of Mexico Studies, Lamar University, Texas A&M System, the health districts, East Tech Environmental Lab. And before we head to the questions, I'm going to conclude my presentation by saying I'm Lucy Flores, and I am proud to be part of the Texas Beach Watch program. Under the leadership of Commissioner Dr. Don Buckingham, we've been able to do a lot of new things for Beach Watch. And that makes my job easier and it makes it way more enjoyable. So when I am away from my family for long periods of time, I get to say, hey, when I travel for work, I travel to a beach and that's okay. So this summer, before you head to the beach, I hope that you visit texasbeachwatch.com to check the latest water quality conditions on the coast. And I'm going to open it up to questions.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Well done. That was a great presentation. And just remind folks, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to place them into the chat box. We'll be addressing those one at a time. Wanted to see if I could go ahead and break the ice for some of the questions or comments, Lucy, and ask a question. Does Texas Beach Watch or the General Land Office actually close a beach when an advisory is listed?
That's a great question. Texas Beach Watch and the GLO does not close down beaches. When we issue an advisory, that's simply a recommendation against contact recreation with the water. At that point, we work with local jurisdictions who are the ones that close down a beach, but we work with them to notify the public by opening up the signs, is usually what happens. Now, the great part about our website is most of the time when an advisory has been issued, you can go onto our website and usually you can find a site that has good water quality just minutes away. When we do issue these advisories, that does not mean you cannot recreate on the beach. You can still exercise. You can still collect shells with your family. You can still sunbathe. Again, we just advise against contact with the water.
Thank you so much. I'd like to turn it over to Christina to help us with the comments, questions, etc.
Thank you, Jason. Excellent presentation, Lucy. It's very clear that you're so passionate and committed to this program. I love it. Okay, so folks, please put your questions in the chat. We have one that asks, have you considered doing a 1-year-long outreach partnership with Adopt a Beach 31 sites to reach more public and more beach waters?
I'm glad you brought that up, because over the last 2 Adopt a Beach events, I have crashed Adrian's Adopt a Beach. And that is something that we are talking about. And actually, we are going to be co-presenting together in the next few weeks over a request that we had from an organization that wanted information on Beach Watch and wanted information on Adopt a Beach. So that is a great idea, and we are definitely looking at that.
Thank you, Lucy. No other questions have come in just yet, so if you're waiting for your time, time is now to ask your question. But Lucy, I have a question for you. So this is an enormous program. There's lots of different variables involved. So if you could give the general public just one tip about any of this, what would it be?
My tip is check our website before you go to the beach. Now, if you're interested in improving water quality, my second tip is visit cleancoast.texas.gov to find out what you can do to improve water quality. And you can do basic things. You can pick up after your pets when you're on the beach. If you go to the Texas Coastal Roundup June 1st that the GLO is hosting in Corpus Christi, we'll have a bunch of doggy poop bags that we'll be giving out to support that. You could also make sure that you're disposing of chemicals and fluids from your car at the designated locations, but make sure you check out cleancoast.texas.gov for that.
Thanks so much, Lucy. All right, we have a question that asks, is there any heavy metal testing currently?
The GLO is Well, actually, Jason, I'm going to kick that back to you. Are we doing that through CMP by chance?
Typically, direct from GLO, we are not doing any heavy metals testing. There are some other state agencies, NGOs, and research groups doing that. And so currently, we're not doing that type of practice with the General Land Office or Texas Beach Watch.
Thanks, Jason. All right, ready for the next question, Lucy?
Let's do it.
Okay. Was the ePredictor model trained on data from all Texas coast sites or only a subset of them?
So the preliminary results that I showed on screen were a subset. That was a total of 15 sites all throughout our network of 172 sites, some bay locations, some Gulf facing locations. Uh, uh, but we're getting ready to deploy it on all 172 sites.
Wow. Okay, thank you. This next question, I think, is a clarification question. Does any testing happen in the sand or is it only in the water?
So Texas Beach Watch monitors the water only. And that is based on EPA standards, and our field techs do walk into the water to collect those samples.
Thank you.
Comments on that question. And we are going to be integrating the testing of sand at different beaches into future studies so that we can understand if reproduction is occurring at any of those locations, which could be impacting water quality.
Thank you, Jason. All right, when you are conducting testing, do you get any interested public approaching with questions of interest?
All the time. I like to tell our Texas Beach Watch field techs that they are the face of Texas Beach Watch on the ground. Through a partnership that we did with the Meadows Center, we did have Texas Beach Watch flyers created in English and in Spanish. We do make those available so that they have those with them in case the public asks for more information. Now that we added those QR codes, those have been really helpful. In Galveston, they actually also added the QR codes to the lifeguard stands. So now it's just, we made ourselves more available to the public for them to receive more information when they ask folks on the ground that are not GLO.
Thanks, Lucy. So when the counts are high, are there any advisories on recreational fishing and or the consumption of the fish that are caught?
Jason, I'm kicking that one to you. We ourselves do not issue that advisory. We just issue an advisory against all contact recreation.
Yes, Lucy, that is correct. Our specific recommendations and beach advisories are specific to human contact recreation in the waterway. There are other testing and other programs specific to TCEQ and TPWD and the state health department specific to consumption advisories or fishing.
I see. Thank you. All right, next question is, Mid-Coast seems to be underrepresented, Matagorda, Lavaca, San Antonio bays, even though there are several public beaches. Any plans to expand there?
That's a great question. And that is exactly why we chose to partner up with HRI to figure out where is the highest usage, specifically for locations that are not part of our network. So once we do receive the final report, we'll be able to make a more informed decision as we expand the current Texas Beach Watch network.
Thanks, Lucy. All right, the next question is asking, how do the essential personnel protect themselves when they have to get into the water during high bacterial concentration events?
Another great question. A lot of our field techs do use waders, depending on what is contributing to the high levels. We've seen some field techs wear protective gear where they cover their hands all the way up to their shoulder. Some choose to wear gloves. And it really is a personal choice for our field techs as to how they choose to protect themselves. One of the things that we focus on at the Texas Beach Watch program is safety first. We always remind our technicians that always be safe.
Let's see. All right, folks, if you have any other questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat now. But that's it from the chat for now. I'll kick it back to Jason.
Thank you, Christina. Well done, Lucy. Thank you so much for sharing your time expertise with us. That was a fabulous presentation. I hope we have you back next year to give us an update on where the progress is going on the projects and programs and research. On behalf of the Texas Clean Coast team, I would like to thank Christina Lopez and Sarah Wingfield for co-hosting today and supporting our technical needs and pulling this off without a single hitch. I'd also like to thank our other collaborators, Texas Community Watershed Partners, Texas Sea Grant, and our supporting engineers for supporting our Clean Coast Texas collaborative activities. We're here to support coastal communities, to meet you where you're at, and to figure out how we can solve local issues at the local level with resources that we have. We will see you next month. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
Thank you all so
everyone.
much for joining. Thank you, Lucy. Awesome job. Thanks, Jason and Sarah as well. Y'all take care.